When I first started meditating 10 years ago, I thought it was so boring. I just couldn't see how sitting there and watching your thoughts come and go on the surface level was supposed to do anything. I would do the sessions and just feel like I didn't accomplish anything but become bored and frustrated. But after a few stops and starts of my meditation routine, I finally learned a few techniques that totally transformed my practice and literally made me crave meditation sessions every morning and look forward to doing them every day. I was also able to find some tools and technologies to incorporate into my practice that helped me sharpen specific aspects of the meditation process to allow me to get even more out of my sessions. Most people think that meditation is this singular skill that you develop over time, but the more that I learned, the more that I realized that it's actually a combination of different cognitive skills that the brain can do. Just like a carpenter has different tools like drills, saws, and sanding tools to create a piece of furniture, a meditator will use presence, focus, and skill sets like energetic awareness to create a great meditation session that will just leave them feeling totally different. My sessions leave me feeling totally altered, improved, and inspired to manifest what I want out of life each day. And I found that these different devices focus on one or two particular aspects of that process and help sharpen my skill set. Some people have argued that using these devices can be a form of cheating and that people should sit and learn to meditate through trial and error and find their own way through meditative practice. But most often I've seen people just give up because they've been told that it's a healthy thing to do, but they don't see any progress in the short term or able to track what's going on in their brain to help them keep going. So I am of the opinion that we should be using every tool available in our disposal to track progress, speed up the process, and learn more about this ancient practice so that we're more likely to continue this incredibly powerful habit for the long term. Now, in order to properly apply these devices to a meditative practice, we need a framework or a scaffolding to build upon. It's not often that I recommend resources that are not peer-reviewed or academic-based, but the Sacred Geometry program with Dr. Robert Gilbert on Gaia of all places was so great.
Saw in one of the videos that you produced, excellent work that you're putting out there. And I just encourage everybody to devour, a lot of the content that you have out there.
It really tied together a lot of the phenomena that I've been trying to talk about over the years after being inspired by Joe Dispenza and Kriya Yoga techniques that describe and explain energy centers. We're going to use this as a scaffolding for talking about using these devices for neurofeedback.
Some type of intentionality.
Energy medicine. And in classical traditions, there's a very interesting aspect of this working in the human energy field. That just like we talk about 7 chakras, there's a hidden pattern in a lot of classical teachings. So
the program talks about energy field awareness of all these different energy points within a grid of a theoretical human energy field. Dr. Gilbert describes energy centers as like a miniature sun of light and energy that you can activate with your attention. To me, it feels like if I dilate my focus on a particular area of 3D space, I can feel a pull of energy into that center, almost like it's a miniature black hole sucking in energy. I know it sounds weird and really out there, but this stuff really works if you try to develop it as a skill set. Dr. Gilbert talks about 2 energetic phases of these energy centers. There's a 0-point center where you can create a pulling feeling. It's like an infinitely small point in space where if you put your attention and just dilate your focus a little bit, you can feel a pull into that center. There's also a radiant stage where if you focus on a point of 3D space, but then expand your awareness, it's called the radiant stage, and you feel like this expansion of energy outwards from it. Outwards from you, outwards from your experience. And this could be as small as a point of space in front of your face, or this could be around your entire body, or even imagining pushing out that energy throughout the whole city, the whole country, the whole world. Dr. Gilbert talks about these energy centers in 2 phases. There's the 0-point center and the radiant stage. Now, as I learned how to do this, and after reading books and watching Dr. Gilbert's series, I really started to understand that you can really feel this push-pull in 3D space if you put your attention in a particular area of 3D space. If I were really intensely focusing on this camera lens right now and I really focus down, you can feel that intensity come down to a singular point. What's really cool is if you focus on a 0-point energy center for long enough and build up meditative energy coming from that 0 point, and then you do the radiant stage, you get this rush of energy through your body and through your mind that's really invigorating, and it provides all this fuel for continued meditative process. You can play with the pull of the 0 point center and radiant stage to where your attention actually becomes stabilized in the balance. For me, if I sit with the 0 point energy center for a while and then do a radiant stage expansion of a few centimeters, it's like you get locked into that point of space with unwavering attention. In my opinion, it makes things so much easier during meditation sessions to be present with that energy space because it's joyful and fun to have your attention there because you're getting so much out of it. You're less likely to get distracted, and you feel a lot more depth to the experience that fills you with joy and a sense of progress. You get that endogenous happiness that comes up from being truly present. Dr. Gilbert has this really nice flowery language for it. He says, "Be aware of the exquisite nectar, the flavor, and the quality of these dynamic energy flows through one another." And if you go through the program, you see that there's different energy points in your body, and you can actually activate one with your attention, activate the other with your attention, and then open up an energy pathway with your mind and just feel them communicating. You can do this all the way up your spinal cord like Joe Dispenza describes. There's different energy points above your shoulders. There's one above your head. There's all different combinations of activating and linking these energy centers that actually makes your body feel completely different depending on which geometry you set up. If I want to feel really grounded and wholesome, I can open the ones up towards my sacrum and connect them to my heart center. If I want to feel cosmic and expansive awareness and get new ideas for what I'm doing on the YouTube channel or my future vision of myself and my family, I'll tap into the third eye of the crown, but make sure to link my heart center with it so that it feels wholesome and exciting. So there's all different combinations that you can do, and the neurofeedback devices can help you sharpen this skill set to get even more out of your sessions. With the wearables, I found that each offers a different aspect of either developing energy field awareness, activating energy point centers, or enhancing the radiant stage and stabilized force of the energy field grid that will help you take your meditation sessions to a completely new level. Now, I don't know if these energy points are just made up perceptions in our brain architecture or if these are actual points in 3D space, but I guarantee you if you increase this energy field awareness like I did, you will notice a big change in your meditative practice and actually start looking forward to doing it every day. And that's where it gets fun, because a good stabilized force on 3D space is where you're totally locked into awareness. You're very present. You get these waves of bliss just washing over you as your mind enters these energetic spaces that I never knew were possible before I started doing these practices. So for people who have meditated for a while and have never experienced what I'm talking about with these energy field centers or even a state change during meditation, I've actually been really impressed with the Sensei for that purpose, for this state change purpose. It's a pair of headphones. It's got 3 gold-plated EEG sensors, and it actually has photobiomodulation LEDs. It's got these red light emitters that stimulate your brain through light pulses. First, it actually senses where your brain's at through EEG, and then it incorporates photobiomodulation light pulses and soundscapes through the earphones to alter your brainwaves into a more perceptual and present state. It also trains you in different programs through neurofeedback to reach different brainwave states. It has several different settings to try. In particular, you can use the boost settings to increase your peak alpha, which has been associated with higher IQ. You can track your progress by using this ERP testing module that comes with the device. And they have a bunch of other cognitive assessments on the way after they've been collecting data from their users, with users' permission, of course, in order to create population pool data to compare your brain performance to. At first, I tried to use the geometric energy center practices during the Sensei sessions, but I found that ultimately it got in the way of what the device is trying to do. If I tried to open up energy centers and focus on particular points in space while Sensei was doing its stimulation on my brain, I noticed that the neurofeedback would decrease. It didn't respond well to me trying to be really active during the sessions. So I learned that the more passive that I was, the more present and basically an open vessel to allow the photobiomodulation and soundscapes to shift my state, the better that it went. It seemed to shift my brain state a lot more reliably than if I was trying to take an active role.
Allow the musical notes to fill you and flow through you. Keep your attention only on the musical notes.
And then I learned that after the sensei session itself, if I wanted to go back and do my energetic Kriya Yoga practices, that I was actually able to tap into energy centers a lot easier. I was a lot more present. I was in a better energetic headspace just to make that whole meditation process go a lot easier and have that whole meditation experience more fruitful after the sensei experience. So I would say that the main advantage of the sensei headset would be for people that have tried meditation before, but really struggle to feel anything. The sensei is going to teach you how to more reliably shift your mental state and develop this energy field awareness as a result. After the sensei experience, I felt a lot more aware of these energy centers, so I'm hoping that's what happens with people when they try the sensei, is that they become more aware and perceptive of these energy fields that you can play with during your meditation sessions. I would say this headset actually gives you a lot of positive reward as well, because through the soundscapes and the photobiomodulation, you definitely feel a lot different towards the end of sessions, and it's got a lot of scores and other positive reinforcement to help you keep going. For me, I really look forward to my meditation sessions because they're fun, they leave me feeling great, and I actually don't feel as well during the day if I don't meditate in the morning. So it's not a struggle for me to practice every day because this is a habit that's been reinforced by very positive experiences, and I think devices like Sensei can be a catalyst for people to get to that point. As far as disadvantages, I would say that the Sensei is very effective, but it's also quite time consuming, especially if you are doing a 15-minute Sensei session, then another meditation session afterwards, which can easily consume 45 minutes in the morning. Where with the Muse, the mindfulness training can take as little as 10 minutes, and you can do many primers in as little as 5 minutes. Those are my own personal metrics, and that's my opinion, and I'll show you those protocols here. Also, the Sensei is going to be quite a bit more expensive than the Muse or the Mendi, and we'll do that price breakdown here in a bit. Now, moving on to the Muse device, a key component of geometric meditation is mindfulness presence. The longer that you can keep a mindfulness presence on the 0 point energy center, the more powerful the radiant stage is going to be afterwards. And I've been talking about this for years. I believe that the Muse headband neurofeedback is optimized for relaxed attention within the alpha frequency range, and it's perfect for this. The most recent iteration of the Muse is a nice soft headband with embedded EEG sensors that sense brainwaves from your forehead and behind your ears. The primary app is great. It's very user-friendly. It's got a bunch of soundscapes. It's got breath work, heart meditations, and a ton of different guided meditations to choose from. To assist with my meditations, I primarily use the original Mind setting. They've done years of research to optimize the algorithm, but the neurofeedback, in my opinion, works best if you relax into a primarily alpha brainwave state with open awareness on your breath. Now, if I open up energy centers into the radiant stage, they tend to burst a lot of beta and gamma brainwaves, which disrupt the Muse neurofeedback. I know this because I've tested it a bunch of times on the regular app, and I've also tested it on the Raw EEG Mind Monitor app, where I go from 0 point center to radiance, and you can see that burst of beta and gamma happening. So the sweet spot for the Muse neurofeedback is somewhere between the 0 point centering and the radiant stage. So my strategy for the Muse is to go through the Joe Dispenza exercise first, which can take as little as 2 minutes, and just go up my spinal cord, blessing each energy center up the way. I put my attention on it, I give it gratitude for being there, I find the 0 point centering, and then I do a little bit of radiance to open it up. Once I do that up my spinal cord, I feel a little bit more energy circulation, a little bit more depth to my experience, and then I go into the Muse neurofeedback exercise. I then pick an energy center, usually it's my heart center, my third eye, or the crown, and then I start the Muse neurofeedback. And what I'm doing is just keeping my attention on a particular energy center and staying within that relaxed attention alpha frequency. Now, I'm not intensely focusing down on the 0 point energy center, but I'm also not doing a bunch of radiance. I'm somewhere in between. It's like a little ball of a few centimeters of attention where I'm kind of balanced between the radiance and the 0 point centering and relaxed and just watching it. What happens is if you maintain that for 10 to 15 minutes and don't let your attention waver, you're building up this energy flow. It's like this meditative energy that builds up on the 0 point center. It's almost like building up steam in a tea kettle if you just sit there with relaxed attention on that energy point. And the neurofeedback helps guide you, because if you get too intense, you hear a lot of wind and waves on the soundscape. If you relax just enough, you'll hear birds chirping. That's the positive reward on the Muse neurofeedback. You'll hear the surf and the wind die down. It'll become very serene. What I like to do is use the birds chirping as that guidepost of, okay, I'm within alpha, I'm relaxed enough, but not too intense. I'm right in that sweet spot on that energy center to get the positive Muse neurofeedback through the audio soundscape. and just hold that for as long as I can. Then what happens is you take off the Muse headband. You've had a good Muse neurofeedback session. Hopefully you got a high score with a lot of birds. But then because you've built up that meditative energy on that energy center spot, you'll notice that there's so much more energy for the radiant stage. You can just expand it. You'll have a lot more power for the radiant stage. If you go from 0 point center to radiance too quickly, you'll notice that the energy dissipates. It's like you haven't built up enough mind power to radiate it out and change your internal state. But if you've sat with it for some time, you'll notice you'll have a lot more mind power to expand out in the radiant stage. You'll get a lot more energy flowing in. It'll be a lot more stable for you to continue your mindfulness attention on it and just be extremely present and get those waves of bliss that come with it. So I find that if you do the Muse neurofeedback on a relatively small point, and then after the Muse session, do the radiant stage, you have a lot more mind power to work with, and it's a lot of fun. And if you get good at this, don't be surprised if you feel a surge of energy that literally has you shaking. I've had my body shaking from this before. And if you do the Muse for 15 or 20 minutes, it could be even more powerful. And this aids the rest of your session with lots of energy to bring in, activate different energy points, build up your whole geometric grid to enter different mind spaces. I know it sounds out there, but it's wild and it's really fun. Now for the Mendi, this device is quite a bit different than the Muse or the Sensei. Instead of using EEG to track brainwaves, it actually tracks blood flow. It's got a technology called FNIRS that shines a red and near-infrared light through the skull, bounces off the brain blood flow and back to the sensors. So this device can tell how much oxygenated blood you have in your frontal lobe. I just made a video going over different studies with the Mendi that showed that it can track frontal lobe blood flow, detect it during working memory tasks, or sustained attention with increased cognitive load. The research shows that we get more oxygenated blood when you sustain attention on one object for a period of time. Over a couple of years of using Mendi, I realized that I like to use it as a priming device before doing anything. So with the Muse, I was visiting energy centers and opening them up and then going into the Muse relaxed attention. But with Mendi, I'll throw on the Mendi before I do anything. Now I do that because it feels right, but also I know the science behind it. Because what the Mendi game is doing is increasing blood flow oxygenation to your frontal lobe, allowing you to focus better. So I'll put on the Mendi and I'm doing the Mendi game. The ball goes up if you increase frontal lobe oxygenated blood flow. And really that's getting my frontal lobe online. So if I wake up, brush my teeth, and come directly into my office, throw on the Mendi and do the Mendi game, I'm waking up my brain. I'm getting all those brain networks to activate. I'm getting the frontal lobe online. And then if I do the Mendi exercise and then go into energy point centering and radiant stages, I noticed that I can find the 0 point center easier if I do the Mendi beforehand. It's like I've woken my brain up to be able to detect those energy centers better. I'd say that Sensei makes me more perceptual to those energy centers in the energy field awareness, but Mendi gives me more focus power to zero in on them and sustain my attention on them for longer periods of time so that the radiant stage is easier to get to. I also think that the Mendi helps with the sustained attention while you're doing the radiant stage so that you can sustain your attention and bring out more of the meditation phenomena as the meditation goes on. So I do believe that Mendi can be the quickest of these devices. I notice a change if I just do 5 minutes of Mendi priming before my sessions. And research has shown that FNIRS neurofeedback actually yields results up to 5 times faster compared to EEG neurofeedback. And some theorize that it's more targeted. It really focuses in on your frontal lobe. And with EEG patterns, it can be a lot of different variations, but this is so simplistic that it actually has more of a dramatic effect as far as attention and focus goes. Now, what the FNIRS research showed is that people with focus or impulsivity issues get the most benefit out of FNIRS neurofeedback training. So for those of you that struggle with focus or impulsivity issues and you're trying to use meditation to sharpen that cognitive skill, or even if you have a hard time finding these 0 point energy centers or sustaining focus throughout your sessions, the Mendi might be your go-to. And if I want to build up mind energy between 0 point centering and radiance, I do relaxed attention with the Muse. So after testing a bunch of devices, these are my top 3 for meditation, and each one of these helps develop a different tool in my tool set of this multifaceted energetic meditation and manifestation protocol of mine. And that's where the manifestation part comes in. Every morning I get up, brush my teeth, drink some water, and then I sit down with a journal and write in past tense what I want to accomplish. Cody is so happy that in 2026 he had this amazing YouTube studio and he was bringing so much value to his audience and this and that and the other. Then I do a neurofeedback device training followed by my energetic meditation session. What I'm looking for is that state change. So at the end of the meditation, when I'm peak state change, I visualize what I want to manifest. I visualized what I had written down in the journal. Scientifically, I know that this has a more dramatic effect on my brain architecture for solidifying that vision and making my brain look for opportunities in my daily life to achieve the goals that I've set if I do the visualizations at peak state. Spiritually, I believe that it helps the universe conspire to actually bring me these opportunities for me to take action on and achieve my goals.
People tried to reduce alchemy to a bunch of scientific kooks in the basement trying to turn actual lead into actual gold.
Right.
When actually process for the initiate was to turn their own etheric lead
Yes.
into etheric gold.
Absolutely.
So that they were vibrating at the frequency of gold.
The whole process for me takes about 30 to 45 minutes each morning. So there you have it. That's my out there meditation routine and how I am incorporating these devices into it to further my practice and understand these fascinating ancient techniques. The price point of these is definitely something to consider. The Mendi tends to be the most affordable at around $300. Muse has been getting a bit more expensive at about $400 with the subscription bundle, and the Sensei is definitely the most pricey but has the most features at $1,500. So if you've done a lot of meditating in the past but have struggled to stay consistent due to lack of state change, investing in a Sensei might be the way to go. If you're just getting into meditation and you want to learn the basics and also have an open platform with the Mind Monitor app to map your brainwaves, Muse might be a better introduction for you. If you're a person that suffers from difficulties with focus and impulsivity and you're getting into meditation to improve classroom or work performance, Mendi might be a great priming device for your sessions or to do before tasks during the day that require a lot of focus. There is a free PDF link in the description below for anyone who wants to try my Muse meditation mastery strategy. I also have affiliate links in the description for these devices and a link to Dr. Gilbert's Gaia resources if you want discounts on each and to help support this channel. I have a lot of videos that do a deep dive on all three of these devices. For starters, if you want to learn more about the science behind the Sensei features, click this video here and I'll see you on the other side.